Hello. It's pretty late night again. Uh, I wasn't able to get up from bed up until uh, 5 p.m. or something. So uh, I'm still a bit disoriented now. It's almost midnight. Anyway, I'm gonna show you guys how to set up the um, RxVT Unicode terminal with a custom font that you've downloaded from somewhere. The custom font we will be using this time is called the Fixedsys Excelsior 3.01, which is basically a variant of the original Fixedsys font from Windows XP and similar. It's also the font that is often shown in the screens of old computers when you run MS-DOS on them. It's a very good, a very attractive font. Okay, so first let's set up the terminal to do our job. Here we have the normal X term, which will be replacing with RxVT Unicode, but now we have to use the control key and mouse buttons to set up the current terminal so we can actually see what we are doing. First, control and middle mouse button and select enable reverse video, release button. Control right mouse button, select Unicode fonts huge and release button. Good. Sudo bash. Armageddon. Alright, so let's install pkg install rxvt Unicode. Okay, yes, enter. Now we got RxVT Unicode installed. Okay, the i3 window manager that I have here has a priority list of terminals. We can see it from here. i3 Sensible. The i3 Sensible terminal is the command that the i3 window manager uses every time I press modifier key and enter. So it tries all these kind of terminals in the following order. So first is Xterminal emulator, which is the normal, which is only present on Debian and similar. Then there's the RxVT. As you can see, UXterm, which is the current, or Xterm, is lower in the list. So if I now press Windows Enter or modifier Enter, we see the URXVT there on the right. Currently it has wrong colors, wrong fonts, wrong everything. We want to change that. Alright. Now, let's go and check some documentations. FreeBSD fonts from Google gives us the reference link to handbook. Using fonts in FreeBSD. Using fonts in Xorg in FreeBSD. Blah. Yeah, okay. Let's go down. First it explains something about type 1 fonts. Let's go and see the Fixedsys Excelsior font. You can find the Fixedsys Excelsior font from www.fixedsysexcelsior.com. As we can see here, if we download it, the file is actually fsex300.ttf. That means that it's a true type font. As the type 1 shit doesn't really apply. No. But what does apply is that Xorg has built-in support for TrueType fonts. We could actually install the Fixed6 Excelsior in the specific system locations, and that way we could actually get it located as in the other applications, but in reality, to get this thing working in terminal, we won't even need to do that. So all we need to do is to just get these fonts to display in XFD aware applications. Now, if you go to Arch Linux wiki and check out the configuration for this is the wrong page. Okay, so Arch RxVT. We write this as on the Google, and we get to the RxVT Unicate Arch Linux wiki page. Here we can see the font declaration methods, and we see it uses the other fonts can be used through XFD using the following format. So this means that URXVT itself is XFD aware application. This means that the free type library by itself does the font lookup without you having to do anything. Okay. It will look in very specific locations that are configured in the font config configuration file. And if you have font files there, you can use them in XFD aware applications. And in FreeBSD, in the handbook, it is mentioned that all fonts in Xorg that are found in user local share fonts and .fonts directory in home directory are automatically made available for anti-aliasing the XFD aware applications. Most recent applications are XFD aware. And of course, this kind of depends. In order to make this font available to our URXVT, all we basically need to do is to make the .fonts directory inside our home directory, as it shows here. So, and then go to downloads and copy the FSEX 300 TTF into .fonts. Good. Now, let's see the actual man page. One, yeah. Now I'll be resources. Okay. Here we see the resources sub page, and here it says that it actually loads its configuration via the .x resources file. But here it says that URXVT will consult the following files / resources in order with later settings overriding early ones. Some app details file, $home, xdefaults. Yeah. And it says nothing about .x resources file here. So this is where some of these upstream programs are pretty bad. They're pretty vague on which files the X terminal actually looks for its configuration. But since one file is xdefaults and one is xresources, we can actually just do this. We touch .xresources, and then we do ln-s .xresources.xdefaults. Now as we see, we have both xresources and xdefaults files which link to the same file. So the specific application can use either or, and it should work. Okay. So now we actually want to configure our RxVT terminal, vim.xresources. Alright. Now we need to configure this, and we can have get some hints on how to configure it via the Arch Linux wiki page. It has a short list on RxVT Unicode configuration options. Okay, so the correct path is urxvt.font, and we need to use the XFT font name here, right? I'm gonna copy it here for future reference, so I remember what to do. As we do now, we can see that it now changed the font on the RxVT to Monaco, but this is not the font we want here. The font we want here is actually Fixatures Excelsior, which we just yanked into the font folder. And for that we use the fclist command. But there is too much output, we can't see what we want, so we use the pipe mark, pipe character, and then we put grep -e, and then we put here fixatures. As we can see here, it says that we have put the fscx 300 ttf file on .home, was from hell.fonts fscx 300 ttf. Good. It can detect our font. It means that all font config and or font config, i.e. XFT our applications can use it. Now, the second part after the first column is the name of the font. So we will be just copying this from here into our xresources file, vim.xresources. Now the font name is after the XFT specifier, which is application specific hint that we need to use the XFT namespace. We put here the name of the font and size. I guess size 12 should be fine. Yes. So what we have here is definition urxvt.font, which means that we set urxvt specific resource, and the resource class is font, and we set it to this value here. And this value denotes that we use the XFT namespace, and from there we seek the Fixatures Excelsior 3.01 font. That name. Okay. And like previously, we found that the name is available. The name is found by the fclist command. Alright. And now, oh yes, as you can see, now we have the correct font on URXVT. But it still looks like shit because it's on the white background. You want to change these. From Xterm I can remember that there are two resources that are the background named or resource classes that can change the foreground and background color of the terminal, and these are called foreground and background. So I set urxvt.foreground. I set here gray, and urxvt.background. Black. Okay. Now, after this, yes, it's better, as you can see. But we still have this stupid scroll bar here, which we don't need because we have mouse wheel. So I think there is some kind of a configuration option available that we could actually use. So let's use urxvt minus help, and let's see where resources include. Here it lists all kind of resources. There is this thing here, scroll bar and boolean. Let's try that one. Who knows, maybe it works. urxvt dot scroll bar and then false. Okay, let's write the file. Restart terminal. Okay, now we don't have the scroll bar anymore. Good. So we have here the letter space, which is basically the space between letters, I guess. Let's also try setting that one. Let's set it to 0. Yes. It didn't make that much difference. Let's see if -1 would help. Okay, yes, so now we can see that the letters are more close together and there's less space. So, yes. In the end, on the left you can see the .x resources configuration that I enabled for urxvt or RxVT Unicode to get a very nice retro looking console. Right. That's about all for now. I'll catch you later.